Life is all about the gray area undefined. Life is filled with parallels. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can choose to live your life out loud, or you can choose the in between or the middle of the road. Inside the gray area, that's where life happens. Welcome to Inside the Gray Area, sponsored by McGregor. We're here today with Darcy Downie, who is the director of the Cleveland chapter of Prevent Blindness. And Darcy, I found it interesting that you started your path with the organization as a volunteer. Tell us
I
about that.
did. I did. I was in digital sales many years ago, obviously. And the president of the company I worked for was involved with Prevent Blindness because his grandmother was blind.
Oh,
And he was stepping off of the council or board. And he asked if I wanted to replace him in that position. And that's how I got started. So then, as I was getting more involved with the organization, I had a passion for it because we do vision screening training for school nurses. And my vision was caught at a vision screening in the schools that I wasn't seeing as well as what I should. So that's where I started to get more involved with the organization. So I spent 10 years in different roles on the Northeast Ohio Executive Council. Then I shared a spot on the state board out of Columbus. And in 2004 is when I decided to get out of sales and go into something not as stressful, and that was a lie. That was a lie. So I ended up going on staff in 2004 in August.
excellent. So, what do you like best about your role?
Oh, really, I appreciate the stories we get from people. When you actually see, and I think when I was on the council, we didn't see it and we try to promote it more with every meeting we have, the success stories, but now I see those stories come in and I see what a difference we can make for people out in the community. And we do serve all 88 counties. So we're doing this statewide. So you see all of these adults that cannot afford vision care,
Yes.
and it's unfortunate. Many of our older adults, they do have maybe be able to get an eye exam. And then again, even through Medicare, they can only get that initial eye exam when they join. And then if they have a family history of glaucoma or they have diabetes, then they can get an exam. But Medicare won't pay for glasses. So when you look at the cost of glasses,
Oh my God.
the cost of rent, the cost of food, glasses becomes really low on the priority list. So that's where I appreciate finding out what we can do and how we can increase our help in the communities. It's amazing what when you go into for an eye exam, a dilated eye exam, which that means you're going to go to an ophthalmologist or optometrist, and they'll put these drops in your eyes, and you sit there for about 10 minutes, and then they can look behind your eye. There's this really bright light that goes into your eye, and they can see behind your eye. They can see if you have these diseases. Many times an eye doctor can tell that somebody is at risk of diabetes by what they're seeing that's going on behind their eyes because of broken blood vessels behind the eyes. So a lot of times just that eye exam alone can trigger something. We were working in a food pantry, and the social worker was trained by us and knew what, the questions to ask. A couple came, they were 76 and 78 years old. It'd been over 12 years since they had their eyes examined or a new pair of glasses. So you've got that risk with our older adult population if they don't have good glasses or if they don't have an eye exam. Um, Number one, they don't know they have any of those age-related diseases. And number two, they've got that high risk of falling. And the high risk of falling increases their risk of having to go into rehabilitation and assisted living simply because they didn't have good pair of glasses.
Yeah, exactly. Can cause an accident where one could have been prevented for sure.
Sure. The falls are just, you talk about falls prevention. That's part of falls prevention. And people forget about vision being such a big part of that. 4 times a year, I do a falls presentation um, for Kindle at Homes. And it's with people in their homes. We're talking to them through Zoom. And we're talking about these things that they should be doing in their home. Make sure that you don't have rugs that are slippery, and some of
Trip
the times,
hazards,
yeah,
yeah.
trip hazards. You look at the trip hazards. Also the hazards of the sun, the hazards of computers. Computers are wonderful, but I know myself by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I start to lose some of my vision on using an Excel document, because you really should be looking away every 20 minutes on the computer. You should be looking at something in the distance for about a minute or two.
Yeah.
And we don't do that.
Yeah.
And so many of our
Oh,
older adults, if they have a vision issue that's not being treated, that becomes a social issue too. Other than an independence issue, they are not socially engaged with people if they can't use their computers now.
so I wonder if that holds true for all of us who are on cell phones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have on our website, preventblindnessohio.org or pbohio.org, we have actually a blue light back sheet up there. We are really kind of watching what's going on because the blue light is just still new
Yeah.
as far as 2 and 3-year-olds are using iPads and cell phones, and we're not sure what kind of damage that's going to cause in the future. And if you're looking at one of those, especially me, I'm looking at one of those little phones, you're really looking intently. And again, you're not blinking, you're looking intently at it, and you hear all of these stats that are coming out about how long young people and adults, our older adults, use their phones, their iPhones, as much as the young people.
Yeah.
And that's their way to stay engaged with family,
Sure.
with friends.
Sure. Even at work, people are texting
Work.
more now than just
Yeah.
emails, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It sounds like you serve a very broad range of ages and people in the community.
Yes. From birth all the way up to older adults. Older adults. So we focus on each one of them a little bit differently, obviously. But when we're focused on our older adults, we're trying to get them, first of all, even with young people, we try to get them to go to the eye doctor. Our Vision Care Outreach Program is a program that we have for everybody. That if you are 200% poverty level or below, and that's predominantly who we serve when we're working in the shelters and the food pantries.
Sure.
You can get through us a pair of glasses and the eye exam, a comprehensive eye exam, which will include that dilation. So we're trying to get that out into the public as much as we possibly can, because there's no reason somebody, if they know about our program, shouldn't be able to get an eye exam and glasses.
Right. Right. And I think that's the biggest component that you mentioned in the name of the organization is the prevention side of things.
Right.
So, do it beforehand.
Well, we know that 50% of vision is preventable. We know that stat. And many times with a child or an adult, if you're an adult with one of the age-related diseases and you're not going to an eye doctor, you're going to lose your vision. You're going to go blind, plain and simple. From any of the four. People are more in tune to cataracts. They know what those are.
Sure.
But unless you are going to a eye doctor, you don't know you have cataracts. I get cataracts for at least 5 or 6 years. They're not ready for surgery yet, but they're being monitored by an eye care professional. If you're not going for regular eye exams, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Looking at me, I don't feel anything on it.
Right.
So but the eye doctor can watch that.
Yeah. How do people find you for screenings? I mean, you go into the community and do various screenings, I'm sure.
We do.
But where else?
Probably the best thing to do is go on our website. It has a list of our trainings because we do 2 trainings for our organizations who partner with us. When we talk about partner organization, it could be something as simple as a school, or it's a senior center, and or it's a shelter population, and they know who we are. When you talk about marketing, we always had that challenge with marketing because people do not know who Prevent Blindness Ohio is or Prevent Blindness National, because the people who know us are the partner organizations who use us. And so we really have, even when we're sending out a voucher for an eye exam and glasses, we have to reference usually that partner organization, or we use the social worker to get that to the consumer, because we are that backdoor solution. The health departments know who we are. But the end users do not.
Right. Right.
So it's always a marketing problem, but we do have an 800 number for people to reach out. When I'm doing a screening, we do have cards, those cards that we give out to people, telling them if you cannot afford a vision exam or eyeglasses, here's the number, here's the website to go to be able to reference that.
And I'm sure you would come to communities like ours here at McGregor too.
Yes. We've talked about that. That I think this is a perfect collaboration because you do have people in assisted living. You do have people that fit in that 200% poverty level or below. And they may not know that they can get an eye exam and glasses is other priorities. And unfortunately, our older adults have a lot of other priorities. We are a safety net. We're a
Yes.
safety net for Medicaid also too. We see with Johnny, in school, he may have gotten a pair of glasses through Medicaid and then his backpack cost him. That's the real story, his backpack story. So I got a call from the nurse and we got him another exam glasses, because you can't have that child going without.
No.
And as we talked about our older adults, they cannot be going out with good glasses because it's just a risk of happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one little trip or stumble can change a life, unfortunately.
Exactly. And you see that downward spiral when somebody falls and breaks a hip and they have to go into rehab. Then they have to make that decision. Can I go back home? Which is always a tough decision.
Sure it is. I see that all the time.
Sure, here you do.
It's not a decision that I want to be
Yeah,
countering.
I'm
for
sure you do. I'm sure
Yeah.
you do.
What else should people know about prevent blindness?
That's probably the biggest thing I want to get out, the prevention component, and that we are there to help. That's the most important thing, that we are there to help people get their vision exam and glasses.
Well, and you have so many different resources, at your beck and call that, people should really be aware and take advantage of that for sure.
Yes, and we do have a whole department just does outreach and community services. That's a state office that we have, and they one of the women is part-time and she works from home. And she was not near one of the offices, and she has become a translator through her cell phone because we see so many people in refugee populations in so many languages. Now we have a number of languages on our website for our fact sheets, our comment fact sheets. There are multiple languages. But when we're trying to work with, say, migrant population, they're not speaking English. Julie doesn't speak their language, but she uses the phone to translate. So that's how we're interacting with people too. We
Excellent.
can help, if somebody has a problem with the language.
Yeah, we have a much broader demographic today than we had.
True.
even probably
And I think you'll
5
find that in
years
Summit
ago.
County. Summit County has a huge refugee population that we've noticed, a very varied population.
Okay,
So
good to know. Well, we'll have to have some of those screenings at our campus locations and our face locations too. right?
I'm excited about the PACE. I just heard about PACE a week ago when I had a meeting here. And I'm excited about that because, we want to help those people that are in their home and we want to help people stay in their home,
Yes.
and
their
not
goal
have
too.
to, that's their goal too, always.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that they can stay in their home and vision does not become an impairment for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for coming today, Darcy. We're happy to have you, and we look forward to the program.
I wish you the partnership. I look forward to the future partnership we're going to have.
You got it. Thanks
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining Inside the Gray Area. We're here to answer all your questions and share some interesting insights. I'm Leanne O'Brien. We look forward to seeing you next time, and be sure to follow us on social media and our YouTube channel.